This morning.
Gulf World Marine Park has been in hot water these past few weeks, and now a mysterious fence has gone up around the attraction. We'll tell you whether anyone knows why the fence has been put in place.
Plus, local authorities are screaming from the rooftops that Panama City Beach's time as a spring break town is over. You'll find out what's being done to ensure this year's problems don't become next year's problems.
And FEMA officials are claiming that Bay County has received money they weren't supposed to. You'll hear why FEMA is trying to reclaim more than $27 million from Bay County.
Now, your first forecast, sponsored by Whitehead Plumbing and Air Conditioning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for waking up with us for News 13 this morning on this Wednesday morning. A little bit of a chillier start to the morning compared to the past few nights. It was all because of that cold front that moved in from yesterday, the northwesterly flow driving in some of that cooler air from the north. So we are starting out into the upper 40s and the 50s right now. But hey, clear skies, dry conditions all day long, and we'll slowly start to rise the next few days. But today, below average temperatures were only expected to reach the mid to maybe the upper 70s, kind of depending on where you're located. But there's that front. It continues to slide further to the south. This high pressure system will continue to move on in. So beautiful skies. We're going to have a lot of sunshine and then steadily warming up. We have the upper 80s and 90s in the forecast for this weekend. We're going to talk all about it in your full forecast.
All right, thanks, Amelia, and thank you for waking up with us on this Wednesday. I'm Kelsey Peck.
And I'm Chris Marchand. Straight to those headlines.
People are asking questions about some fencing that's gone up around Gulf World Marine Park. The attraction has been under fire for the last 6 weeks due to deteriorating conditions. Problems began to escalate after the reported deaths of 4 dolphins since October. The most recent allegedly died while performing in front of a crowd on March 1st. A week after News 13 broke the story about the park's poor conditions, Gulf World and its parent company declared Chapter 11 reorganizational bankruptcy. The park is normally closed on Mondays and Tuesdays and is advertising specials through May 18th. It appears the park is not closing, but it's unclear why it's fenced off and who did it. Panama City Beach officials said they don't know anything about it. As far as we know, all of the animals are still in the park. Recent social media video shows even more thick, dark green algae in some of the pools. State and local law enforcement officials are still investigating for possible animal abuse charges. According to federal court filings, Gulf World Incorporated lawyers asked for money to pay employees, but were unaware of any requests to repair the water pumps and filters. Local law enforcement officials say they'll be using the next few months to come up with a new plan for spring break. They say the old one isn't working. Panama City Beach Police Chief Jared Telemente says he's glad spring break ended this weekend and adds the beach's time as a spring break town is over. Unlike years past, Telemente says college students were not the problem this year. It was teenagers and juveniles who brought guns and shot at rival gangs. He says he's starting serious discussions with stakeholders, community leaders, and business operators about the changes that have to be made. They're talking increased police presence, a public service campaign, and additional spring break laws and restrictions with a narrow focus.
But these are just very general in nature. Right now, we still need to really bear down into the data and look at the scope of what we're dealing with.
Telemente says he's also analyzing what happened this year, good and bad, to see if they can expand on the positive aspects.
Well, after Hurricane Michael, the Federal Emergency Management Agency handed out millions of dollars to repair roads damaged during debris removal. Bay County was one of those communities that received money and used it as intended. But FEMA officials now said the county was not eligible and should not have received the funding. They're trying to reclaim a little more than $27 million through a process known as clawback. Bay County officials are appealing the process and said they feel confident they'll win.
We paved all those roadways, and now a decision was made that maybe we weren't eligible for those funds, and so therefore there's a potential clawback of $27 million. And so what we're doing, we're appealing that. We think we'll be successful in getting that overturned because they did approve the project.
Carroll said the county has set aside the $27 million just in case they lose the appeal. If they win, the money will go to other county projects. The appeal started in January of 2024. Carroll said they don't know how much longer it will take. In December of 2020, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission closed Apalachicola Bay to oystering in an effort to restore the oyster beds. Now the FWC is trying to decide how much of the bay will reopen to oystering. They hosted a public input meeting in Apalachicola last night to receive feedback on how they should enforce oyster regulations, such as through license requirements, oyster seasons, and harvest limits. 90% of Florida's oysters once came from the Apalachicola Bay, supporting 2,500 jobs. Since the bay closed to oyster harvesting, oystermen said they have been out of work.
It's just been really rough. There ain't that whole lot to do around here other than commercial fishing, and that's what we grew up doing, and that's what we want to do. So it's important that we get back out there and be able to work that bay like we used to.
FWC members said they want to keep some areas of the bay closed to conduct more restoration efforts. The FWC is completing 4 more public workshops and 2 virtual meetings to receive feedback from cities across Florida. Their recommendation will come at their August commission meeting.
4:36 Central Time now on this Wednesday, and not a bad start out there.
Another nice day.
Yeah,
another gorgeous start, nice and dry, clear skies, a little bit cooler than the past few days, mainly just because of that northwesterly flow grabbing some of that cool air from the north. So today is going to be below average, not only for the morning, but heading towards the afternoon as well. We're only expected to be into the mid to upper 70s. We should be right around 80 to 81 degrees for this time of year. So just slightly below that, but don't worry, we're going to surpass those high temperatures, the averages here in the next few days. In fact, we are looking at the 90s by this weekend. But again, a beautiful morning to get your morning started. Maybe need just a light jacket for your morning commute. That's what I had on early this morning, and I felt nice and comfortable, but looking good to go on those roadways. Now, here's the thing, this cold front that moved in from yesterday continues to push towards the south, the dry air going right along with it. Now, here's this high pressure system that's not only bringing the dry air, but it's also bringing the cooler temperatures. Again, that at least for today, the further it moves closer to us, well, it's going to be bringing the sunshine in full force the next few days. Okay, so temperature wise, again, as I mentioned, into the 50s. Some areas are into the 40s right now. That includes Mariana and in Blountstown. 54 in Apalachicola, 51 in Panama City, 53 in Phoenix Springs. Keep in mind the average for this time of morning, 54. So we're just shy of that in most areas. So really not a bad start to the morning at all. And thankfully, those wind speeds that were associated with that cold front, that pressure gradient, it's now pushed towards the south, which means the pressure gradient as well has continued to die off for us. So still out of the north, sustained winds right around 8 miles per hour. And it's still a little bit on the breezy side, but that's going to continue to die off as well. Really only around 5 to 10 mile per hour winds and gusts as well. So today, nice and quiet, and will continue to calm down throughout the evening as well, heading towards tonight. Okay, dew points. Thankfully, that cold front helped us out. We were into the 60s yesterday. I told you it was going to knock off the dew points, bring in some of that dry air. So good to go as far as getting out and not feeling that humidity. Enjoy today because these dew points will be on the rise, especially heading towards this weekend. So looking at our temperatures for today, 75 to 76 degrees, both at the coastline as well as those inland counties. So again, nice and comfortable, very spring-like day for today. But for tonight, just a few degrees warmer than what we were seeing early this morning. That's just the start of this steady rise here. Heading towards tomorrow, we are expecting these winds to transition out of the southwest later into the afternoon. It's going to grab some of that moisture, and we'll talk about how that impacts our forecast here in just a bit.
The late Edward F. Hickey, an iconic Panama City Beach figure, was honored in a unique way that will benefit the community for years to come. In a collaboration between the TDC and several other stakeholders, Ed Hickey Park at Panama City Beach Access 22 has been converted into an ADA beach access point. Dozens of community members gathered to honor Hickey's legacy with several new features that will allow everyone to enjoy the beautiful beaches. Those with mobility challenges can now benefit from several handicap parking spaces, as well as an over 100-foot ramp made up of mobility maps that extend from sand to shoreline. Wheelchairs, walkers, and canes are encouraged. Donors say they hope the facility's unique design can be the new standard.
I sit on the TDC board, and I hope we here in Bay County have so many points of access for the public to get to the beach and to enjoy the beach. And there's other communities along the Gulf Coast that they don't have that privilege or that honor to be able to get down to the beach and enjoy it. But Ed made his money on the beach. The man wore flip-flops everywhere and had sand between his toes.
Yesterday would have been Ed Hickey's 98th birthday. He passed away on April 18th of 2021. The next phase of the project will include the construction of an observation deck in the park. More than 50 students presented at Gulf Coast State College's third annual Scholars Day. Over the course of 2 semesters, undergraduate health science students research different topics related to health, nursing, dental, physical therapy, respiratory, and biology. Students were presented during Scholars Day. The opportunity to showcase their findings from their research was beneficial for many students. Some nursing students aim to investigate public health from a different perspective by creating a school bus plan for a local community.
We're kind of going away from that bedside look and kind of looking at the greater picture. So this would be like community health, where, it's kind of like essentially looking at our community, what can we help with? And it's not always just like, oh, we're going to get you medical treatment. It's kind of like different ways to kind of improve in our society, because it does play a role.
Gulf Coast State College is planning to host the 4th annual Scholars Day in spring of next year.
State lawmakers are demanding answers after a Q&A with Hope, Florida officials left many with only more concerns and more questions. We'll tell you why the initiative continues to be the main topic of discussion in the House.
This is News 13 This Morning with Kelsey Peck, Chris Marchand, and 13 First Alert meteorologist Amelia Henderson.
Well, Panama City police are still investigating a traffic crash that killed 1 person. It happened a little before 5 o'clock yesterday morning at the 23rd Street exit ramp on Highway 98 overpass. The vehicle ran into the concrete barrier that separates the off-ramp from the flyover. It flipped over on its side and burst into flames. It's unknown if the impact killed the driver or if they died in the fire. The crash backed up eastbound traffic several miles, all the way over the Hathaway Bridge and Back Beach Road to Moylan Road. Authorities detoured traffic onto the Port Panama City exit and did not completely reopen all eastbound lanes on the bridge until about 10:45 in the morning. Police are still trying to find out why the crash happened.
If you're planning a visit to downtown Panama City soon, you may notice some improvements. We'll tell you just a few of the changes that have already been put in place.
And a chillier start to the morning, into the 40s right now. Light jacket will suffice, but we're going to see the sunshine warming up into the 70s, and we are heating up big time heading towards this weekend. A summer-like pattern. We're going to talk all about it coming up in your full forecast. That's next.
Welcome back to News 13 This Morning on this Wednesday.
Wednesday.
We're almost halfway through the work week. Officially, it would be, for us, it would be about 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
We'll be halfway through the work week
so we're almost there. But let me tell you, Chris, not only today, but heading towards this weekend as well, we're going to see a nice steady warm up, which I know you've been looking forward to. Upper 80s, a little bit more in the way of humidity, but hey, we'll take it, right?
I'll take it. I'm playing some golf this afternoon,
so
it'll
be beautiful golfing day for you. Hey, I'll bring out the golfing forecast.
There you go. I like it.
At some point. Yeah, it's going to be beautiful for that. Nice and spring-like for today, but honestly, the last spring-like day we have before we just jump straight into summer. We have upper 80s and low 90s in the forecast and rising humidity in the next few days. But until all of that, yesterday we did have those winds that were transitioning out of the northwest. It was a little bit on the breezy side. That's what increased those wave heights, increased the rip currents. So that is why Bay is still flying single red flags. But I have a feeling they will be turning yellow here in the next few hours, because look at that. Nice and flat on the waterways, crystal clear skies. A little bit of a chillier start to the morning because of that northwesterly flow grabbing some of that cool air from the north. So that is why you might step outside and say, wow, it's a little bit chillier than I was anticipating. Well, we did forecast this, but yes, it's a little bit of a shock to the system compared to where we have been, but just still slightly below average. We're into the upper 40s right now, and by that first bell, we will be warming up with the sunshine, reaching into the upper 50s for that first bell, which is right around 8 to 8:30. So not too bad. A light jacket will suffice for those kiddos, but after school activities into the upper 70s. That goes for the coastline as well as those inland counties. Both areas will be right around 76 to 77 degrees. So as you can see, taking you hour by about 9 a.m. into the 60s, 11 a.m. we're finally into the 70s, and then we'll be reaching our warmest point by right around 3 p.m. But nothing but sunshine for today. Clear skies as high pressure is now in control. Slightly warmer than tonight as we head towards the overnight hours. And then for tomorrow, here's the thing. The winds start to transition back out of the southwest by the afternoon hours. It's going to grab some of that tropical heat, that moisture. This high pressure system goes off into the Atlantic, and that is when the moisture starts to build. So heading towards Friday, and specifically this weekend, you're not only going to be feeling the heat, but the humidity is going to be a big factor as well. So we'll talk more about that in your 7-day forecast.
Casey DeSantis' Hope Florida initiative was the main topic again in the House. State lawmakers are questioning if Hope Florida funding to charities was funneled into a campaign to defeat the recreational marijuana amendment. As News 13's Mackenzie Laporte tells us, Florida's newly appointed Attorney General is also under scrutiny.
Some main concerns coming out of today's questioning between state lawmakers and Hope Florida officials was who is protecting this pot of money? How did it get from point A to point B? And are there reasons to believe that this was all fraud?
The Hope Florida Foundation gave two $5 million grants to a pair of dark money groups, who days later gave millions of dollars to a political committee. This political committee was controlled by James Uthmeyer.
James Uthmeyer, Florida's newly appointed Attorney General, may have not been at today's investigation. However, he was at the center of the conversation.
I know that he played a role in the settlement at ACA that steered this money to the Hope Florida Foundation. The money immediately ended up in his bank account. He knew where that money came from. He knew it was Medicaid money. He knew it went to a 501c3, and then he knew it ended up in his bank account. That's RAG. That's the best Florida has to offer.
State Representative Alex Andrade, a key Republican following the Hope Florida money trail, wasn't fully satisfied with the answers he received in committee.
I have no reason to believe that funds went beyond that. Again, really focused.
No reason to believe, Secretary? I mean, you know that $10 million went from the Hope Florida Foundation to James Uthmeyer's political committee. Are you really telling me that you have no reason to believe that money wasn't improperly used? Is that what you're telling me?
Chairman Andrade plans to hold another meeting next week with even more key players in the Hope Florida controversy. Governor DeSantis chimed in today, calling out Republicans in the House once again.
We have this almost 3-to-1 supermajority of Republicans in the Florida House of Representatives, and it is rotten. They are behaving more like Democrats. They are colluding with the left. They're colluding with the media to try to sabotage all the great success that Florida has had over these last 6 years.
Coming off of the committee meeting today, according to the president of the Hope Florida Foundation, mistakes were made, which only leaves lawmakers demanding more answers in this tricky equation. Reporting in Tallahassee, Mackenzie Laporte, News 13, Panhandle Strong.
Well, if you've strolled around downtown Panama City recently, you may have noticed a few new features. The Downtown Improvement Board took charge of a few new projects to help revitalize downtown amid ongoing construction. As News 13's Maggie McQuiggan tells us, the DIB is asking the public for help with one of those projects.
As construction on the Streetscapes project continues in downtown Panama City, officials are implementing a few upgrades for immediate public use. The Panama City Downtown Improvement Board is leading the charge to illuminate the historic district.
There are definitely some both short-term goals and efforts underway in downtown Panama City, as well as long-term goals. We understand, the nature of all the work and the disruption, but we can definitely do a lot of different things at the same time, so we can get done just as quickly and efficiently as possible.
The first upgrade the Downtown Improvement Board unveiled is a new lighting installation in Mackenzie Park. In partnership with Lumiscapes, the DIB installed colored lights to help illuminate the area at night, and electric vehicle owners can now charge their vehicle while exploring downtown. The DIB paid for and installed 6 new EV charging stations at 4th and Grace behind Martin Theater. The chargers are Tesla branded but are compatible with the standard Type 1 plug. And the Downtown Improvement Board is asking residents for help with one more upgrade. Right now, you have a chance to make your mark downtown by renaming a street. Since Government Street lost its government, officials want to name it something more fitting.
We don't have the federal courthouse or city hall there anymore, and so I requested that through the executive director of the Downtown Improvement Board that they take lead on working with the downtown community and their board to kind of suggest a new name.
In Bay County, Maggie McQuiggan, News 13, Panhandle Strong.
Hey folks, 3 minutes till the top of the hour. Timing things down really quickly. We do have that cold front that slid in that's pushing further towards the south, so those winds will continue to die off. We have this high pressure system that's going to be pushing off into the Atlantic over the weekend. That allows for the moisture to start to build as these winds transition out of the south to southwest. And we're also going to be seeing a big warm up. We're going to be in the 80s for those coastal areas. Look at the inland areas though, into close to the 90s by this weekend.